Licensed games have always, for the longest time, fascinated me. Licensed games, particularly those in the 2000s, have always been a mix between good and bad. While there are some classics like Batman Arkham Asylum, there are always those that have slipped their ways through the cracks of time, forgotten by most, and today, I'm going to take a look at one of those hidden gems, Madagascar, the video game, based on the DreamWorks movie of the same name. Madagascar, the video game, is a 3D open platformer published by Activision and developed by Toys for Bob. Well, wait a minute, Toys for Bob? The guys that created Skylanders and the Spyro Reignited trilogy? Those guys? So yeah, Toys for Bob, the people that created Skylanders, developed this game, and back then they worked mostly on licensed games such as 102 Dalmatians, Puppies to the Rescue, Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure, and the Madagascar 2 video game. When the game was released on May 24th, 2005, it received mixed to average reviews, praising it for its presentation, gameplay, and voice acting, while also criticizing the graphics, gameplay, and lasting appeal. Now, I've played this game before, on multiple consoles, but for this review I'll be playing the Windows PC version of the game using a PS4 controller add-on. So the question is, does Madagascar the game hold up on its merits today, or is it a steaming pile of sugar honey iced tea? Let's find out. This is Madagascar, the video game. So for those uninitiated with Madagascar, let me give you a recap. The story is that a zebra named Marty, played in the film by Chris Rock, has spent the entirety of his life in a zoo and wishes to go back to the wild, right where he thinks he belongs. And the story also has a second plot involving a quartet of penguins who also wish to go back to the wild, this time Antarctica. When Marty leaves the zoo, a lion named Alex, played in the film by Ben Stiller, and Marty's other friends, a hippo named Gloria, played in the film by Jada Pinkett Smith, and a hypochondriac giraffe named Melman, played in the film by David Schwimmer, go out to rescue him, only for them to get captured and shipped off to a wildlife reserve. Through penguin hijinks, their cargo ship is turned around and they instead arrive on the island of Madagascar, where it is up to them to get off the island, all while helping the lemurs from their enemies, the mangy Fusa. And fun fact, a Fusa is an actual animal, and it looks like this. It looks like a small cougar. Anyway, Madagascar the game mostly follows the plot of the film, but it includes elements that were never found in the film, such as the zoo hunter, the residents of Madagascar, the way Marty goes to rescue Alex, the design of the Liberty Beacon, which looks completely different than the one seen in the film, the arcade games, and the Fusa King. But I can take what this game has to offer, and it serves as a good retelling while also adding in its own ideas. Now we move on to the presentation. I'm reviewing the PC version of this game and it looks pretty solid. I decided to compare the PC and console versions of the game and they all look the same minus a few lighting changes, but I'll take what I could get. Otherwise this game looks solid. The jungle levels especially look really good, and the waterfall level is probably one of my favorite levels in the game. I like the idea of traversing up and down a waterfall and it looks gorgeous. The beach level is also my favorite because it's the one level that has references from the film. You can even find Melman's memorial. And the New York street chase level is another one of my favorites because I like the idea of traversing through a busy city and through traffic. It's a really nice level. Now in terms of models, some of them look great, particularly the main characters. The issue I have with the main models is that their eyes, except for Melman, look like they're squinting a bit all the time, and the lemurs, aside from King Julian, don't blink and they look almost dead. And I really think it was a missed opportunity to give them fur physics like Star Fox Adventure. But this was the 2000s where graphics didn't look high standard enough, so overall this game looks pretty damn good. In terms of animations, it's all good. I especially like this idle animation for Alex where a spider gets on his back. It's a really nice callback to the film, and the music is great as well. The music in Madagascar the game might be the most nostalgic soundtrack I've ever heard from a video game, and probably one of the best I've heard from a licensed game. It was composed by Michael Wandmacher, a composer that has worked on projects including movies such as Punisher Warzone, My Bloody Valentine 3D, Piranha 3D, and the Ben 10 movie Alien Swarm, as well as video games such as the Madagascar 2 video game, Singularity, Twisted Metal 2012, and even Bloodborne. The music in this game is a mix between techno music and jungle tunes, and it progresses through time, and each of the characters get their own music, making the soundtrack even more diverse. The techno music especially is my favorite because it almost sounds like something out of Jet Set Radio. The tracks that stand out to me are the zoo theme with Marty, the zoo theme with Alex, the zoo theme with Gloria, the overworld theme, the New York street theme with, again, Gloria, the New York street theme with Melman, the banquet level theme, and the Wobblebird Air Force minigame theme. So yeah, Madagascar the game's soundtrack is really nice, and speaking of sound, the voice acting is pretty top notch. One common issue in licensed games is that actors from the original often don't reprise their roles for a game. I mean, name another game that can afford Ben Stiller or Chris Rock. But the actors that do return from the movie are the Penguins and Simon, the talking monkey from the film. All of them sound alright, though I have my issue with the Penguin Private, and I mean no offense to Christopher Knights, but sometimes it almost sounds like he's not even trying.
You scout ahead to find a rendezvous point, then call us up.
Other than that though, the rest of the characters are voiced by impersonators, and they all sound really close to the actors from the film. Wally Winger is one example, who you may know him best for playing the Riddler in the Batman Arkham games. He really convinced me that it was Ben Stiller, and it is really good.
Maybe you ought to swing by Glorious. You look like you need a little pick-me-up. Nobody cheers up a zebra like a hippo, right? I'll see you tonight at the birthday thing. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Well, well. So the shaved monkey has failed. How utterly, utterly expected.
Another impersonator is Phil LaMarr, the legendary voice of Samurai Jack, as Marty, and I love his Chris Rock impression.
Ah, the zoo. Smack dab in the middle of wonderful New York City.
You are very troubled and very confused. Aku is the evil one, not me.
Another impersonator I should mention is King Julian, who is voiced by Keith Ferguson, who also voices Blue from Foster's Home from Imaginary Friends, and Reaper from Overwatch, and he sounds like a light-sounding Sacha Baron Cohen, and it's pretty good.
I hereby pronounce the party celebrating the preparations for the party honoring our liberators to begin immediately following the pre-parties. Pre-party party!
Toe picker? I'm a toe pick. I'm a hot toe picker. Pick my toe, it's hot.
I work the graveyard shift.
As for the game's writing, whenever it attempts at comedy like in the film, it's quite hit and miss. Some of the comedy in this game is toilet humor, like the scene where Alex steps in Marty's sugar honey iced tea. But in terms of writing, it's quite okay. So overall, the presentation in this game is pretty top notch. The graphics look nice, the music kicks ass, the voice acting is top notch, and the writing could use a little work in terms of comedy, but it's passable nonetheless. Despite there being no difficulty, this game can be a challenge sometimes, but overall it's pretty easy and can be beaten in under 3 hours. Now we come to see if the game holds up on its gameplay. Madagascar the game plays out like a 3D collectathon puzzle platformer similar to the likes of Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. Levels are often linear, but there are also open levels later in the game that allows you to look around and complete objectives. The game consists of 4 playable characters and 2 minor playable characters. You play mostly as Alex, Marty, Gloria, and Melman. You also play as the Penguins and Mort. As you play the characters, you will later collect power cards. Collect all 3 of them and you get a power-up. The other collectibles you can get are health tikis, which can heal you, and if you get 10 of them, you get an extra life. And there are 100 of these monkey coins in each level that you can spend in the souvenir shop. Collect 100 of them in each level and you get a reward, which I will go over later. This gives the game a sense of challenge and replay value. Some of the coins are out in the open, while others are often pretty hard to find. Oh yeah, and I should also mention that whenever you do early levels with your collected power cards, your powers reset, so you have to recollect those power cards. It's actually one of the flaws of the game, actually. Alex is the most normal character in terms of platform gameplay, and he comes with a double jump aurora attack which can be affected to be more powerful using a particular pepper looking plant, and he comes with another attack which I will go over later. He can also attract bees and lead them to flowers which reward you coins. Then you have Marty, who comes with a kick attack which can hurt enemies or even zoo residents. A crouch that can be used as a slide, and a long jump that looks to be a reference to the opening scene from the movie. Gloria plays out like a powerhouse. She comes with a butt bounce attack, a tumble, Peach's side special from Smash Brothers, and there are these peppers laying around, and if you eat them, you start running faster than the speed of sound. And I'm going to say that the animation of Gloria running when you eat a pepper is fucking hilarious. Seriously, I mean, why isn't this a meme yet?
Oh Lord, he coming!
And finally there's Melman. Melman comes with a spin move, a helicopter move which you can use to fly up vents of air, a head bash attack, and the ability to throw stuff. Don't ask. After them are the minor characters. The penguins have one level dedicated to them and it's a stealth level. You have a slide attack and a chop attack, and there are these whores laying around for you to call your penguin buddies while they say, hut.
Roger that. Okay, boys, let's move out.
Hut, 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 hut,
Yeah, that's not annoying at all. Thankfully, you can skip these since they are cutscenes. The last character is Mort, who is used in a jumping minigame. Speaking of minigames, there are these arcade games laying around the first 3 levels. The first is Armor Madness, where you need to defend your fort from enemy tanks. There are power-ups including health ups, speed boosts, and bouncing bullets. Super Space Blastoid 1977 is another arcade game, and it's just a Space Invaders shooter type game. And finally, Wobblebird Air Force. This time you play as an airbird fending a zeppelin from enemy planes. Personally, I think Armor Madness is the best arcade game out of all the 3. There are more minigames you can buy in the game's souvenir shop, which also sells items including cosmetics and gameplay benefits. The minigames you can buy are Tiki Golf, Shuffleboard, and Lemur Rave. Tiki Golf is probably my favorite because it's basically Mario Golf. You have to get the pearl ball into the hole, and that's pretty much it. It's just Mario Golf. After that is Shuffleboard. The goal is to get as much rafts on the board to get points, up to 9. It's one of the least played games I played in this game. And finally, Lemur Rave. It's the equivalent of Dance Dance Revolution. So in terms of gameplay, this game has a lot to offer in terms of gameplay, but not much in terms of bosses. There's only 4 of them in the entire game. The Zoo Hunter is fought twice, once in the Zoo Escape level where to defeat him you have to kick the guards in front of him by kicking stuff around them, and then you kick a janitor into the Zoo Hunter himself. He is then fought again in the Penguin level where you shoot blow darts at him. Next is the Albino Croc. He provides quite a challenge. You start out by fighting his minion crocs and then the croc himself, and he takes 5 hits to kill. You meet him again in the next level before the final level in a river chase sequence. So in terms of gameplay, this game is jam-packed full of it. Pretty ambitious for a licensed game, I tell you. Now we are heading into finale territory. So just like in the film, after being on the island for so long, Alex goes savage and bites Marty on the butt. After that fateful incident, Marty, Gloria, and Alex decide to escape the island. To do this, they rebuild the rescue beacon and Marty heads off through a not so safe path to rescue Alex. This final level is Marty to the rescue, and there's not really much to say about it. It's just you traveling through a linear level and you face the albino croc from earlier. Let's just go over the final boss. After running away from Marty to the Fusa side of Madagascar, Alex is cornered by the Fusa King and his minions. Thankfully, the penguins come in and give Alex his last power cards. The final fight against the Fusa is split into 3 phases. The first is where you get your last power-up, the Claws. This is the only level where this power-up is used. It's a 3-hit jab combo, so I'll take it. You fend off against a swarm of Fusa using this attack, or you can use the roar plants to unleash a powerful roar. The second phase is against the Fusa King, whose attacks include eating durians and unleashing a durian fire breath and summoning a swarm of vultures to throw durians at you. This phase is one of those stand in the middle kind of boss fights, a cliche I've seen done over 20 squillion times. The only way to hurt the Fusa King is to wait for him to get tired after breathing fire and throw mangoes at him. You can also do this to the vultures. Repeat this long enough and you come to the final phase, a hands-on fight against the Fusa King. The Fusa King this time comes with a charging slash attack which makes him emit fire around his body. The rest of his attacks remain the same, breathe durian fire and summon vultures. Once you defeat the Fusa King, Alex proves that he's still the king and Marty falls from the sky and saves him. Somehow. Because of the phasing of this boss fight and the claw power-up, despite the piss easy difficulty, the final level is quite possibly the best level in the entire game. And also, am I the only one who likes this fight scene better than the one in the film? But hey, maybe I'm just biased because I like CGI fights. After all of that fiasco, King Julian announces a party in celebration of their saviors and the gang leaves on the cruise ship that they left on. It's similar to the ending in the film but without the dinner party scene, and after that you roll through a credit sequence of some pretty nice test animations. I always like the endings where they show off a bunch of test animations or renders, always a nice way to show the effort the team put into their work. If you do plan to 100% this game, you probably shouldn't because the reward isn't worth it. Your reward for completing 100% is a big fat 100% logo on your save. No secret ending, no costume, no extra level, nothing. The end. Licensed games have always fascinated me, and Madagascar the video game is a movie game done right. With its jam-packed gameplay, impressively done voice acting, nice gameplay, and amount of replay value make this a hidden gem. Though it has its issues, like some of the models could use some work and probably can use a few re-recordings, but overall, Madagascar the game is quite possibly one of the best licensed games I've played so far. This game isn't perfect, this game isn't bad, this game deserves a 7.5 out of 10. A nostalgic hidden gem.